And this is about the Teachers Eligibility Test. Qualified students were detained by the West Bengal police amid protests outside the Education Board office in Kolkata, Salt Lake. Police and protesters violently clashed. As you can see in those visuals, a lot of them were detained as well. These images tell you that there was a difficult situation. Clashes happened. A lot of them have been detained. Police had to take some action. The protests are against the government right now. These people have been demanding that they have qualified the exams, but yet they have not got their appointment letters. You can see how these qualified candidates are being taken by the police in those buses. Many would say that perhaps this is a disproportionate response which is coming in from the police authorities. A ground report that we get for you.
नारेबाजी चल रही है, सड़क के बीच में पूरी टीम बैठ गई है, आंदोलनकारी हैं, छात्र दल है लेफ्ट का, जिनको देखिए फिर एक बार वही तस्वीर आपको देखने को मिलेगी, जहां पर जो ये आंदोलनकारी छात्र हैं उनको पकड़ करके यहां से पुलिस खदेड़ती हुई। पुलिस है, राज्य की रैफ है, जो यहाँ पर आपको दिख रहा होगा बसों में भर रहे हैं। जो भी आंदोलनकारी है, महिला पुलिस भी बड़ी संख्या में यहाँ पर आई है, क्योंकि कई जो छात्राएं हैं वो भी लगातार आंदोलन में भाग ले रही हैं। और सवाल ये उठ रहे हैं कि रात के अंधेरे में क्यों जो आंदोलनकारी थे उनको हटाया गया। देखिए तस्वीरें आपको, चाहे महिलाएं हों चाहे पुरुष हों, सभी को यहाँ से हटाया जा रहा है। जो छात्र हैं उनको सड़क पर लेटे हुए भी पुलिस उठाकर ले जा रही है, खदेड़ रही है। तो ये तस्वीर फिलहाल आपको दिखाई दे रही है।
My colleague Shaukato Mukhopadhyay is joining us on the broadcast. Shaukato, tell us why these protests were happening and why did the police have to detain so many protesters? I guess some people have also been injured. We can see in those visuals.
Well, you see the action that took place late last night, in fact early this morning at the Karunamoi crossing area in Salt Lake in the outskirts of Kolkata was because the TET qualified candidates from the year 2014 was sitting there in a sit-in demonstration for 4 days and were also holding a hunger strike, demanding that the government and the primary education board should give them appointments, should give them recruitments directly without having to make them sit for yet another round of interviews, which the primary education board wasn't willing to, because they were very keen to go by the book and wanted these candidates to first sit for another set of interviews. The police have been imposing a section 144 in that area and had been asking these protesters to move out, and only yesterday the Calcutta High Court directed the police to enforce section 144 around the premises of the primary education board headquarters, before which these protesters were organizing this sit-in demonstration. And only late last night, in fact past midnight, the police sprung into action and moved these protesters forcibly, shoving them into buses and taking them away. None of them were arrested. They were all detained through the night and then released early this morning. All of them have now been released is what we are told, but the action and the dramatic visuals that happened yesterday has led to counter protests that have been happening in the city during the day today, and these are mainly political protests. And I will try and get you some visual of the BJP protests that is about to start from the party's headquarters here in Kolkata. We do know that protests have been organized by other political parties as well. The left had organized protests in the city today. They have been detained. The ABVP workers have also clashed with the police, and now there are these the BJP workers who are planning to take out a protest rally from the party headquarters. I'll quickly try and speak to one or two of them. आप क्विकली बता सकते हैं कि आज का प्रोटेस्ट क्या रहेगी?
आज हम लोग राज्य की तरफ से युवा मोर्चा मदर सब मिलकर एक साथ प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे। जिस तरह से ममता सरकार की पुलिस ने कल रात को सॉल्ट लेक में जो प्रार्थी लोग बैठे थे, जिनकी नौकरी जिनको मिलना चाहिए उनको नहीं मिला है, उनको जिस तरह से हटाया गया निर्मम तरीके से, उसका हम लोग घोर विरोध करते हैं और हमारा उनके प्रति सहानुभूति भी है और हम लोग उनके लिए उनके अधिकार के लिए हम लोग लड़ते आ रहे हैं, आगे भी हम लोग लड़ेंगे।
तो आज का रैली अगर पुलिस रोक देते हैं तो आप लोग क्या करेंगे?
हम लोग कंटिन्यू करेंगे। कितना बार रोकेंगे? जितनी बार रोकेंगे उससे दुगना बल के साथ हम लोग अपना प्रदर्शन करेंगे उनके विरोध में।
So that is the kind of sentiments that we are getting from the BJP workers who are here, planning to take out a rally in a short while from now, expressing their resolve to continue with their protest, even if the police stop them from proceeding with their rally on the streets of Kolkata. The police have maintained their steadfastness as well. They have not allowed the left to organize their rally in Kolkata, in Salt Lake today. They have picked up the ABVP workers from the Karunamoi metro station as well in a short while back, and have not allowed them to move towards Vikash Bhavan, which is the office of the state education department. And now the BJP workers, mainly the youth wing as well as the women's wing of the BJP, they will all be participating in this protest rally in a short while from now. And the mood that I caught on the ground just a short while back, talking to some of these protesters over here, will give you an idea as to how angry these protesters are currently are.
Okay.
The students, of course, are also holding protests in various parts of the city today.
Yes.
In Jadavpur
Yes.
University, in Presidency University,
Yes.
students would also be holding protests, but these are all,
Yes.
the Congress, for example, is also planning a protest in a short while from now. So all opposition parties and a section of students holding protests across the city today in protest against the police action that took place on these
Shogana, this is what I want to understand from you. As you're pointing out that there are various students, universities, there are protests, apolitical as well, which have been organized in different parts of the city, in different parts of the state as well. So one can distinguish, and correct me if I'm wrong, one can distinguish between the protests which is by the people who are demanding their appointment letters, various protests at the universities which are happening, and on the other side, of course, there is politics also around this issue. You have the ABVP, left parties, or the Congress who wants to make a political point as well. So all of these are different protests happening on the same issue. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You see, the main protest, the main agitation was being held by the Teachers Eligibility Test qualified candidates from the 2014 batch, and they were holding that demonstration on the streets of Salt Lake since last Monday, and they were on the streets for 4 continuous days under the weather, and were also holding a fast unto death, a hunger strike, demanding that the government should give them jobs immediately, and they should not be having to go through the entire process of appearing for interviews anymore. That was their demand, which obviously the Primary Education Board did not accept. The Calcutta High Court directed the state government and the police to ensure that Section 144 around the Primary Education Board headquarters is enforced, and that is the reason why police took the action. At least officially that was cited as the reason as to why police took that action late last night, in fact midnight last night. And immediately after that, police action has been countered by these sets of counter protests which are being organized across the city, and these are political protests mostly, and also protests which are being held
पकड़ के